Unlocking marital bliss.
Good afternoon. Once again, you're watching Unlocking Marital Bliss with me, Cyrus Rod, and it's always a pleasure to have you here. The number one show in the land. All our viewers in Malawi, Zimbabwe, Zambia, South Sudan, DRC, Kenya, Tanzania, all of you guys, we do appreciate your feedback. We do appreciate that you're learning so much from us. We do appreciate that, yes, your marriages will always stand. Remember the way I take it. Marriage is easy, ignorance is hard. It's not. Marriage ain't hard. Marriage is easy, ignorance is hard. Now, tonight, I have a special guest. In our land, when we get married, the government is responsible equally to make sure the marriage lasts. Can you imagine? The government is trying to do things to make sure the marriage lasts, not to make sure the marriage is broken, but it lasts. Any government that will come up with laws to make sure the marriage is broken, that's not a government. But we thank God for our government that it has laws to ensure that marriages last. And tonight, it will be a question, okay? How legitimate is your marriage before the government? You know, yes, are you legally married? What does it mean to be legally married? And without further ado, I have a guest, somebody in experience of this whole topic. Together with me, would you welcome my guest this afternoon? You're so much welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Would you mind introducing yourself, your name, and where you're from?
Yeah, by the names of Leah Kisalo Agnes. I'm a senior registration officer with Uganda Registration Services Bureau in the Directorate of Civil Registration. This is a directorate that handles registration of marriages at a national level. I'm here to represent the Registrar General, who is the CEO of Uganda Registration Services Bureau, and I'm happy to be here.
It's a pleasure. I think we're honored to have you on this show. We're always here, and most of our viewers are married. Some not even sure they're legally married. So you represent your boss and your senior registrar, and you talk about the civil. I would like to start by asking, how many types of marriages do we have in Uganda?
I would say we have 5 types of marriages, and I would want to start with what everyone knows.
Okay.
When one says they are getting married as a young girl, you want your parents to see this man, and everyone will be like, I need to do a customary marriage or a traditional marriage. So which is the Kwanjula of today, where the two families come together and meet and talk about their intention for you to have their daughter for marriage. And of course, depending on the type of culture you're marrying in as a man, it could be a Acholi culture or a Western culture where they ask for cows. It could be in Buganda where they have a special gift they want. It could be in Karamoja where you have to run about, catch the girl, and when you catch her, it depends on how far the spear goes for you to,
my God.
how many cows you bring home at the end of the day. So everyone knows that an introduction or a traditional marriage is a casual visit. Most people even want to call it a kuchala. But the laws of Uganda have a law which is called the Customary Registration Act, which governs a customary marriage or a traditional marriage. And in Uganda, it's a legal marriage. However, it's potentially polygamous in nature. It means that a Ugandan man can introduce or kwanjula as more wives as they wish, as long as all of them are in the same bracket. No one is going to be taken to church or become a monogamous marriage unless all the other wives leave, or you dissolve those marriages and then you decide to go to church with one of the 3 or 4 or 2. So when you go into this arrangement, most of the times we want to hurry to go to church, because when you cross to church after a week or a month or a year, you're crossing to another law that allows you to take the same wife you've married traditionally to church, and it becomes a monogamous marriage. In other words, you've cut off all the other suitors that may want to join the bus and be many in this bus, where we are all wives to this man. So the moment I go to church, I've cut off all the other suitors and I'm only one wife in a church arrangement or in a civil marriage.
Now, I would like to ask, because you've brought up some very interesting, aspects of it. You say traditionally, when I go and I'm introduced by my lady to her parents, you guys consider it a marriage?
Yes, it's a marriage. It's a traditional marriage under the law. Customary, you pay the dowry and the parents have got to know you and told you, our daughter is getting married, this is what we want for you to have as a wife. And so if you fulfill that, you're married. However, you must go an extra mile to have this marriage registered.
Now, you see, that's where you mess us up, because now I have our viewers are thinking, oh, so I'm married? So I'm with this guy because they did the traditional marriage. That is the customary, where the girl welcomes you at their home and then you bring and fulfill whatever the demands are. That is called a marriage.
Yes.
Now we have more women that have gone through that and they're at home and they've not taken the further step you're talking about. So that means you consider it a marriage, but it's not a marriage until until we come to you.
No. Why I made that additional statement is because most of us as women, the moment you do the traditional marriage, we hope for the big do, for the big wedding. So we keep on waiting instead of first having your security and having this marriage registered, so that if anything happened, if this man died tomorrow and probably you have properties, you have an estate, you're considered a wife, but the registrar general will ask you, what is the evidence of this marriage? And you have nothing to show.
What if I bring the pictures of our introduction ceremony, the way I dressed up, stuff like that?
The pictures may just be circumstantial, in the sense that whichever officer is working on you will have to consider and investigate whether these are actually pictures of that marriage. But there are scenarios where even pictures, this is a marriage of 30 years. These are old women who are in the village. And surely the introduction took place. Yeah. But she does not even have a single picture of this marriage. She only has an uncle who can only say, truly, this woman was introduced, I was present, but I mean, this man is dead. So customarily it becomes a challenge, because this certificate has to be signed by both the parties and at least two witnesses. So in a customary arrangement, it's a challenge today, because people come up when there are problems and one of them has died and you cannot...
And the family of the other side is saying, get out of here.
So you cannot even run to us to register that customary marriage, because the certificate needs you to have signed it. And when you're dead...
Whoa, I can't sign it.
Yes. We need your ID to show it is a valid ID and you're actually still alive.
But you know, our viewers tonight are really blessed to have you here, because I can assure you, I think in Uganda, I don't know if you have the statistics, how many guys do traditional marriages and actually run to you guys?
Most of them come when there are problems.
Now, guys, are you listening? You run to them when you got problems. As long as there's no problem.
We never see them because they're hoping for the big wedding. And most of the times, probably, you see them when the woman has had, the husband is running with someone in another church. Now I'm married, he introduced me, what do I do? Those are the challenges we get.
So they run to you. He introduced me
now taking
in July, and now he's getting married in church. Yeah. Now what do you do with such an incident? Our viewers are watching, and it's common. You've made it. What do we do? What do you do for such a lady?
It's two-way, in a sense. First of all, not having your marriage registered customary does not mean it's an invalid marriage. The marriage is existing. But because you do not have evidence of this marriage to fight the battle of don't take this woman to church, because the moment you go to church, church will ask you for proof. Yes, I'm here, I have children, but before the priest or the pastor stops the bands from running or the wedding from going on, they need something. And here you are crying and you have nothing. So usually registration is safeguarding you as a wife. It's not saying your marriage does not exist. It's just saying in circumstances where there is bigamy or polygamy or polyandry, or where someone is trying to disorganize you, where do you start up? Because the moment you show up with your documents, any sane priest or pastor
we'll just have to stop
the wedding, because there is evidence. Because
So
sometimes the pictures may not stop this wedding.
So the evidence is what the government has declared as evidence by them, by you registering, and they certify that that's a customary
Yes.
marriage.
However, the beauty is, even if you do not have the certificate and the wedding went on, the law sees that second marriage as an invalid marriage, because the Customary Act says when there is a subsisting customary marriage, you cannot enter into another monogamous marriage with a different woman. That's why you see in church, when you do your quandula or introduction, the priest will ask you for your father's letter of that same woman you introduced that you want to take to church. The moment you bring another letter that is not from the same parent of the first wife you introduced, those questions come up. Why are you bringing another person? It means you're already married, you've left another wife with children, you've left another family, so you don't qualify to come to church. First sort out this mess. But most of the times, the men will not disclose that actually I introduced so-and-so, I have another family. They will not disclose. So probably the church is ignorant, because if someone does not tell you, or someone doesn't come up at the point of the wedding to say, stop this wedding, the marriage will happen. But for us that can help whoever is in such a dilemma, that marriage can be nullified. Because the moment you produce your certificate and say, look here, the church marriage went on, but we were married. I even have children. He even comes home. He pays the fees. He's looking after it.
Do you have such incidents?
They're there. Only that the challenge comes in, the women lose the fight, the strength to fight, unless they have someone who is sober to sit them and calm them down. Because at some point, where the scenarios of someone saying, you know, this man left 5 years ago. Yes, we have children. He's been paying the fees, but he's never there. He's never been there. So the woman feels that probably he wants to fight for what belongs to her as far as the home is concerned, not the man. Because the moment the other marriage supersedes her marriage, they can even tell her to leave the home because the other one went to church.
What?
So in such scenarios, this woman may not necessarily be fighting for the man, but she has 5 children. They'll build her a home. She cannot go back to the streets because someone has gone to church.
Yes.
Because someone did a one-day marriage. Yes, she has been with this man. They've built each other together. They've worked together. But just because
they never registered.
Registration may not be an issue, but because the marriage broke down along the way. And this man thought it was an introduction. They did not have a legal...
Nothing binds me. Actually, most men believe, I'm not bound. That was just an introduction.
Exactly.
But according to law,
it's a marriage that is subsisting, and it's a legal marriage over the one you've done in church.
The one you've... Oh, now viewers, you better listen to this. This customary actually stands above the one you run to do in church if you have not taken the same person. Now, Agnes, we have a challenge. This is Uganda. Most people are actually will fall within this customary marriage.
Yes.
And many of them in our villages are mamas down there. That's all they do, and it ends there. What does URSB have to help sensitize our people, to let them know if you bring a man at the introduction, make sure you bring something from URSB. Look at this. You've seen the culture kingdoms. They will tell the guy, bring a certificate from our kingdom. Buy a what? A certificate from our kingdom. It's a way of believing in our kingdom and moving on and on. How about you guys say, look over here, come buy this from us, that on that day, we can give you an officer, or you take it, then you sign on it. On that very day, you're doing the introduction. And hey, bring a copy back to us. And you begin promoting something like that because, let me tell you, even in Kampala, thank God you said it, that most people run to you when things get sour. Yes. But even those lawyers like you, they do the introduction and they sit back. They do the introduction and they sit back, and nobody is sensitizing them. But what you're doing right now for our viewers, you're awakening us. Yes. Look, the introduction, but you guys need to come to us. Because, look, it's only when we get problems that say, I heard Agnes say on TV that is a marriage. So they run to you. And you tell them it's late. You would have done it earlier on. What steps can you have to protect our mamas, our girls, our ladies out there? Why am I talking about ladies first? Because I think they suffer the most. They end up more in a mess. Because you've introduced me, and then I'm free to introduce another woman or to be introduced by another woman, as long as I don't go to church. Then I go around pinky, ponky, end up with about 5 or 10 of them. And the law is still favoring me.
Yeah, you still come and register the 5. We shall accept the certificate because it's a polygamous arrangement in the law.
So
I would want to encourage us.
Yes.
The Ugandans, the wives, yes, the husbands. As URSB, we have gone out there on radio talk shows, trying to sensitize people. Okay. However, what we are trying to do, radio, not everyone has an access to radio.
Absolutely.
But what we are trying to do, we have done partnerships with these kingdoms, Uganda, Busoga, Bunyoro, so far. We are entering into a memorandum of understanding whereby the certificates they are issuing, yes, as Buganda, while we respect them, these are culture certificates. For instance, Muganda is marrying a Munyankole. I know that Munyankole does not have a kingdom, right?
That's true.
But this certificate from Buganda being taken to the West is creating a relationship, a binding relationship of the two cultures coming together as a family. But legally, it's not in the law. So this is a certificate that's for starters. If you're stuck and someone is like, are you married? You're like, no, but we have a certificate. The two cultures met and this was issued and signed. So what we're trying to do, these kingdoms are supposed to make sure the couple that has done the customary marriage registers their marriage with the sub-county chief, because the registrar of customary marriages should be the sub-county chief. These days they call them senior assistant secretaries, the gombolola of your village. For instance, if you've done your wedding in Kampala, Kampala does not have gomba, it has divisions. Okay. So I would expect you to go to the town clerk of Kawempe, town clerk of Makinge, Nakawa, to have your customary marriages registered. If you're out of Kampala and it's a village setting, we all have these gombololas, the sub-county chief. Okay. After the introduction has happened, of course, a gombola is a big village. This chief may not know that in that small village there was an introduction. Yes. Because there are almost 50 villages in one gombolola. Okay. So you'll go to the sub-county chief, who'll give you an interview. I've come to register my customary marriage. What shows you got married? What is your village? Who is your LC1 chairperson? Okay. Those are the startup. Okay. Because he may not really know it, but at least he will know the chairperson on that village. So he can also do his investigations. Okay. So usually these sub-county chiefs may not have that legal certificate. So in the instances where they don't have it, you buy it from URSB, you take it to your sub-county chief, he interviews you and writes a certificate, signs it, gives you a cover letter to prove that you're coming from there. Otherwise, at URSB, I need evidence that you came from the chief back down here to me to register your customary marriage.
Okay, I love the way you're putting it out. So you're beginning to work out, perhaps in the near future, you guys get an MOU with the culture kingdoms. You already have. So now, how do you work it out? Because today, in case I'm in Uganda, and then I'm marrying a girl from Toro. So I go to Toro to pick up this bride. We are doing customary marriages. So when I go to Toro, I present my certificate.
Yes.
It doesn't really say I'm getting married to so-and-so. The Buganda certificate. And then when I present it over there, okay, we're kind of bonding. Cultures are bonding. That's good. Now, where do you guys come in? I've presented the certificate of my culture.
Yes.
Now I need URSBN.
Now the culture certificate is just the startup, like you say, on this date.
Okay.
That certificate has details of you yourself, you who was going to do the introduction,
That's
the
true.
girls, the
Yes.
parents' names, and it's signed by the other side that is giving it. So when you come at URSB, the certificate may not, most people don't carry it because they imagine there's something they're going to give them. But usually when you have it, for us, we will take you back to your sub-county chief down where the marriage was, because when you come to my office, I cannot look at you and say your marriage took place in Chanamukaka without any evidence that you went to the Gombola chief.
Yeah.
So whether the letter is authentic or not, I need a cover letter coming from that sub-county chief in your village where the marriage, the traditional marriage took place. It's what comforts me.
Okay.
That this person went there and this marriage was registered. So from your celebration of the marriage, you must have something you're giving to your sub-county chief to believe you that actually in your small village where he resides over as a sub-county chief,
Yes.
he cannot fail to know someone who will know that so-and-so his daughter got married.
Yes. Now, I understand that. So you carry on this certificate. To the little that I remember, it's been a while since I attended an introduction or a customary marriage. But it's been like, once I bring the certificate from Buganda, I give it over to the other family. And I go back with nothing.
Usually there's an exchange. I don't know, you've probably not. If you find an introduction where,
people have come out with exchanges.
for instance, it depends because not every tribal custom has a king or a kingdom.
Okay.
So let's take an example of, let me say, Buganda and Busoga.
Yes.
You're in Muganda marrying a Musoga girl. I'll bring a certificate from Chabazinga
And I bring a certificate
from Buganda. So these two certificates are exchanged the other side. My father will get to know that I married a Muganda man because the Buganda certificate was brought this side.
Yes.
And you as a gentleman, you'll have a certificate from Chabazinga knowing that day the Chabazinga honored you for having married this side. So those are traditional or cultural certificates that bring these two families together. So for startup,
that's the certificate I take to the Gombolola chief.
exactly. In case he's questioning you, because he may not actually know you, but still you may not have a certificate because not every kingdom has. So it's the investigation of this sub-county chief to sit you down, if you don't have any certificate, to question you, because these people get to know the LC chairpersons, the neighborhood, the witnesses. So it will be a one-on-one to understand you. Is it a fake marriage? Are you just wanting a certificate? Did it actually happen? So it's not an instant that when you go there, sub-county chief, please sign, no. He has a right to actually confirm because the sub-county is too big for him to actually know all these marriages.
Now, let me ask this question before we take a break. How much are the certificates from your side that I can buy and take on my introduction ceremony, then it's signed, and then once I buy from you, do I still go to the Gombolola chief?
Maybe what you didn't get well, the certificate we sell to you costs 20,000, but it's a legal certificate. And that certificate will only make sense if you're going to invite the sub-county chief to your introduction. He's the one supposed to sign it. So he has the power to register your marriage.
So apart from that, if I'm not having him on my introduction,
you'll have to take
certificate
take the certificate to him to put the date when the introduction happened.
And sign it.
And he signs this off. That day he signed it, but the date of marriage, when the customary marriage took place, will be on the certificate.
That is so beautiful. That is Agnes, all the way from the civil registry. And we're learning so much. So if you've been married and you're in there, or rather you did a customary introduction, whatever that is, introduction ceremony, okay, it's called a customary marriage. She says that is a legal marriage. But to really certify it, run to her office, run to the Gombolola chief, okay, and bring a certificate, let them sign, let him clear you so that you bring it to the civil registry. correct?
Yes.
You bring it to the civil registry and you have a marriage acknowledged by the government and you need one. Please don't stay behind. We'll be back in a minute.
Unlocking marital bliss. Unlocking marital bliss.
Yeah, we'll be back. You're still watching Unlocking Marital Bliss with Miss Iris Rod, and I'm so glad. I'm with Agnes from the Civil Registry, and she's taught us a lot. As long as you have had an introduction ceremony, I'm asking, have you registered that thing? Because according to the Ugandan laws, that's a marriage, okay? According to the Ugandan laws. The negative thing about it is that the man can go ahead and be introduced by 20 women or whatever, okay? Until he's stopped by a church wedding. Let's talk about the church wedding you mentioned, Agnes. So what do you mean by a church wedding? That's a form of marriage. Please.
Now, a church wedding is a twofold. A church wedding is as good as a state marriage, like a civil marriage. Why am I saying it's as good as a state marriage?
Before you go ahead, define a state marriage.
A state marriage is a civil marriage where the law allows everyone to get married as long as they're above 18. They go to the Register of Marriages, and the Register of Marriages in every district is the COW. Meaning if...
The COW, that is the Chief Administrative Officer.
Yes. If you do not have a church and you're of age, you reside in the district, you have a locality where you stay, you can prove it, you can swear an affidavit that you're not married before. The Chief Administrative Officer will marry you in that district. If it's in Kampala, URSB is the Chief Administrative Officer. So you will come to the Kampala office and we'll do the marriage.
Where are your offices?
We are located at George Street, Georgian House, and Georgian House.
Georgian. You guys are listening good. Georgian House.
George Street.
George Street.
Yes.
Okay. Which floor? The entire thing?
We are located on floor 1, floor 4, floor 5, 6, and 8.
Wow. You all have a lot of work going on out there.
Yes.
Okay. So now you have the civil marriage, which is acknowledged. You have the COW doing it if you're in different districts. Let me ask, do I need parental consent if I'm coming for a civil marriage?
Now, with the state marriage, the Constitution is clear. It gives the age of consent as 18.
So once I'm 18, I don't need nobody to tell me you're not ready for marriage.
Exactly. But I would say the Marriage Act again says the two laws.
Lawyers are so interesting.
The Marriage Act talks of 21 years. However, the Supreme Law, which is the Constitution, supersedes any other domestic law. So if you're above 18,
you're good to go.
You're good to go. But if you come to me as a registrar and you're just 18, and I need you to understand your affidavit. Affidavit is an oath. You're telling me you've consented, you've not been coerced. You're of age. You reside in this area, and you want to get married to this man. So this affidavit or what you're swearing must be understood by you as someone who has just attained 18 years. Between 18 and 21, you must understand what you're entering into. Because you're just a young adult.
So I think it would be good to encourage them to probably push you to 21. Just in advice, not law. Okay, you'll stick to the law. 18.
So 18 is the standard.
18 is the standard. Now, what happens when my mama says, I don't like that guy you're getting married to, and I'm not giving you my consent?
No, I'm not talking about consent of a parent here. I'm talking about the consent of the parties getting married.
But you know how much we parents really bring in our power and we tell you, Agnes, you're not marrying that guy over my dead body. And we say all this stuff, and we actually stop your wedding.
You will not stop it because you will not even know about it. Why? Your son and daughter will walk into our office, they'll fill in their papers, they'll swear the affidavit. The marriage will land a notice without you knowing, because the two people have consented, given us two witnesses who are their close friends.
Okay.
And they walk in there after the 21 days on the booked schedule date and get married. So as a parent, you only be lucky if your son or daughter comes to you and tells you, Mommy, I don't think I can wait for the big do. I think the two of us can stay together. That's you're just lucky that you have a relationship with your child. But if this child is enlightened and they know the law, they know that they're of age, you will never know. They don't need your consent.
Whoa, parents, you better listen so carefully. You have no power over a child that is gone over 18 years of age if they're getting married. You can only give advice, but you can't stop them. They don't need your consent. Now, that's a state marriage. And now, when I'm above 21 and I go to a church and I would like to get married, now that's another form of marriage. I go to the church, I would like to get married, correct?
Yes.
When I go to the church and the pastor or the priest says, I need consent later from your parents, what does that mean?
No.
Do they know what they're asking for?
Yes, they know.
What is that?
The same Marriage Act says that the church, the place of worship,
Yeah.
first of all has to be gazetted and licensed by the minister to wed or celebrate marriages. Meaning a Christian denomination, Pentecostal, Anglican, Catholic, the law says you must marry according to the norms and custom of that faith. So when you walk into church, if it's a Pentecostal church and it has its customs, they believe this child that or son or girl or young girl or young woman that is coming has a parent.
Okay.
So as the norms of that faith and church, they believe they must get to hear from your parent. Was this child blessed or accepted by the parent to go into this marriage? So those are customs of the faith you've chosen to get married into. So you must oblige to the church norms.
I think some of them just come up with stuff.
No. The law is clear. You've decided to go and get married in that church. So you listen to
what the church is telling you.
Exactly. So if you do not want the church, go and do the civil, where they will not ask you about an introduction. They will not ask you about dowry. You walk in there and get married.
Here is my question. I come to church. I want to get married. But the father of the girl is saying you're not marrying, so I'm not giving you the letter of consent. And those are many. What do I do?
You come and do the state marriage because the two of you feel you're ready and of age to be together, because we have so many scenarios where probably the father is a Muslim. Yeah, and I'm a Christian, and someone is a Christian, and you want that letter, and the father is saying, first do a nikah. And I'm saying I'm a Catholic who is not going to do a nikah. I want to stay Catholic.
Yes.
So if you don't give me the letter, I'll engage the registrar. I'm of age. The two of us have accepted to be together.
Parents, you better listen to that very carefully, because what Agnes is doing to us this afternoon is bringing some sense in our heads. These people have the authority to go to the state and they get married. And guess what? You might lose your daughter forever by you insisting it's got to be my way, or you may lose your son forever. So support them. Don't fight them. See how to support them. They may not be from your tribe, but support them. It's all right. So you have a church. You mentioned something that it has to be registered and gazetted by the minister, licensed. I have a question for you. Thank God you came on set. Agnes, I go to a church, okay? And then I get wedded. And then URSB says the church that wedded you has to bring returns. Yes. Correct? Yes. Now, when you bring the returns, my question, or our viewers would like to know, what are returns? You want to explain to them?
Yes.
Go ahead.
A return is a record of your marriage that the church entered at the time when you had an intention to get married, you went to this church, gave in your names. If it's a traditional church, tell them you're baptized, you're confirmed, you're born to so-and-so, so-and-so is your mother, you stay in this area.
That information is called the return.
So the church will enter all your personal information on this summarized, we call it a Form F.
Okay.
It's a return. After you've married and gotten your certificate, for us as URSB, we don't want the certificate. The certificate is for the couple's evidence that the marriage took place.
Yes.
But the church has an obligation to bring URSB a return as a record of the marriages they've conducted in that church. Every month, you should give us a record, the returns.
Now, most churches are really weak at that. They hardly bring them. And then, when the returns come, what do you do with the returns?
The returns are entered on the national register, the National Marriage Register. So every church has a docket.
Am I right to say that's when your marriage is certified?
Your marriage is registered.
Registered.
With the national register. Just like you have a national ID.
Now, I have a situation.
And you're in the register.
I have a situation. That's why I'm glad you're here. And many are watching. I have a young man who told me a story. They went to a church and they got married. They were so excited. And after about 2 weeks, they went to apply for a visa. You know where I'm going. They went to apply for a visa of some country. When they got there, they took their documents, everything, oh, we are married. And the gentleman looked at the certificate, the visa counselor, and said, hold on. Did whatever, made a call, I think, I'm assuming that's what he told me, to URSB. Nah, we don't have them. And the guy came out and said, hey, your marriage is not certified. It's not in the registry. We're sorry. And they kicked them out. They ran back to church. Please, what happened? Oh, you know, we haven't yet taken the returns to the registry. And I'm thinking this gotta stop. We gotta find a way where we get together with URSB. Because look, you tell me I'm licensed by the minister to officiate weddings. But my license is literally nothing until I come back to you and bring my returns. Why don't we do it the other way around? Encourage everybody to come to URSB. They come to URSB, we do the state thing, and we take this license to church, and the church simply says, we are officiating, and we do the blessing. How about that? So we avoid some of these disappointments, the recklessness of some pastors or bishops, and because I think it would be easier that way.
What I want to say is that will actually complicate the situation, because if, according to the 2 types of marriages, or 3 we've so far talked about,
okay,
the law wanted to simplify every situation for everyone to be comfortable. And then the Same Marriage Act gives the power to the priests or the celebrants to say you have the license to marry people. It's your obligation. This is to appeal to the churches or to the celebrants. Can you help the couples you've married to bring their returns? Because most of these couples pay for registration of these marriages prior to the marriage, which is only $35,000 per marriage. So if the church has been lazy or delayed, URSB has no problem, because the law is very clear. It tells you every end of month, file a return with the church. So in such circumstances of what you said, there were 2 instances. You could find the church didn't have a license, and probably it was a null and void marriage. URSB didn't have that church license to marry. So it makes the whole marriage null and void. Okay. But where the church actually exists and the church hasn't brought the return, it's as simple as going back to your church. If they're not willing to bring a batch, because a batch means you're bringing over 50 marriages and each paying $35,000 in one batch, which is a huge amount, the church can allow you to bring your one return as long as they give you a cover letter to prove that actually you're coming from that church.
Okay.
So these are ways of streamlining the processes. So if you tell everyone, bring your marriage, you're going to get fake marriages where people are getting married on the streets and there's no church and there's no... Someone is here in Sheraton and writing a return that you got married the last day.
Now, this is my question. I love your explanation. My question is, why don't I come to your RSP? If I come, how much do I pay? When I come for a wedding, state wedding.
A civil marriage, right?
Yes, civil marriage.
A civil marriage will take you about 320 because it entails you filing a notice, which is 10,000. It's a breakdown.
Yeah.
Registration is 25 for civil marriage.
Yeah.
Issuance of the certificate is 25.
Yeah.
And the fee charged for the marriage to happen in the registrar's office is 200. That's so far 260.
Yeah.
Then each affidavit you swore as a couple costs 30,000. That comes to 320. Of course, bank charges.
Okay.
It will take you about 335 in the bank.
Yes.
And of course, the lawyer will charge you for doing your affidavit because that's a legal document.
Okay.
It has commission before a commissioner and it's registered.
Okay.
When I take you to church, the church under the law is given the right to examine you.
Okay.
And they have the obligation to file your records. So depending on why you've chosen to get married, because when you do a civil marriage, automatically you're registered that very day and the certificate is issued and your name is entered on the National Register.
Yes.
Because the same URSB is the central depository for all marriages. So when you do it in Kampala, automatically your marriage comes on the register. When you do it at the COW's office, the COW has to bring your return back to the central registry. Otherwise, when you go to the COW and get married and keep your certificate, we do not have your marriage in Moroto, in Mbale, in Mbarara, in Gulu. It has remained with the COW.
Wow.
So the COW still has to file a return with the Registrar General, who is the chief of the central registry, the National Marriage Registry.
I think that makes it easier if you marry from Kampala.
Still, but you must prove that you're a resident of Kampala, so you're not going to bring someone from Karamoja.
Really?
You must prove.
mean I don't get my guy from Karamoja and we say we want it fast and we run to...
At least one of you should prove that you're a resident of Kampala district. One of you. You could get your LC letter from Karamoja for the bride. And you could be resident in Kampala district. That qualifies you to get married in the Kampala office. But if both of you are in Wakiso or whichever district you reside in, you don't qualify as far as the jurisdiction is concerned.
So that means if I live in Nigeria and my woman lives in Nasana,
you go to Wakiso district and get married there. And then your cow will file the return with the Registrar General.
Wow.
Otherwise, we do not want to monopolize the situation of everyone running to Kampala and causing a stampede.
Okay. So you really just have to deal with the cow. You just have to deal with the pastors and the priests to really do their work, depending on the choice of marriage. Now, because to me, I was thinking, if I come over there, by the way, I come over there to your office, we do the thing, then I go to the church, and it's cleared.
When you do a civil, you don't have to go to the church.
No, because as Christians, you want the church thing. So people take the pictures when you were before God and you did all that stuff.
What I want to explain about that is that, of course, most people do the civil marriage because I'll give you a scenario.
Yeah.
There are people who do the civil marriage not because they're hiding or not because their parents are not aware, but probably one of them is a foreigner or is a Ugandan who is staying in the UK, and UK will not, believes in a state marriage as far as the laws are concerned. So probably you do the civil marriage with us, but the same marriage is valid in church because it's a monogamous marriage.
Yes.
You take the same certificate for blessing. So we usually encourage you, when you come for the civil marriage, we tell you, if you need a religious marriage, don't get another certificate because we shall know.
Because you're already there.
Exactly. We don't want a return to come in March, yet you are at our office in January. So usually we encourage you, the same certificate can be disclosed to your church, telling them, for these reasons, we already married. We want a bigger do with a blessing from both our families. So they'll set a date.
Yes.
They'll set a date, endorse your certificate from the civil registry, and even allow you to get baptized or get the sacraments if you wish to.
Okay, there's another question. Now, you've mentioned something our viewers are like, is there where you guys can rain on churches? Because look, you say the whole price for a church doing a return for one wedding is $35,000. Yes. I mean, some of us are so scared. We don't want to even go to church to get married. Because these days you go to a church and the marriage fee, you know, to book me in, $2 million. Book me in for marriage, $2 million, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. What is going on? Can you guys help us out, or we're going to have to suffer with our churches and go through this? Because you guys take only $35,000 off of the $3 million. Only $35,000.
What I want to say is, earlier I said that every church has its customs according to the church you've gone to. For instance, you're going to go to a church that once, for instance, has 30 marriages on each Saturday, and they don't have the time for each couple decorating. The time wasted when you have numbers. So what they do, the 35 is for registering your marriage. But this church wants to be organized. They want to have a decent decor. Where if you have 30 marriages a day, every church you use the same decor. Every church you use the same choir. They will have a lunch break, because if you're doing 30 weddings a day, you cannot keep this choir without breakfast, without lunch. They are busy singing the whole day. The clothes are washed, isn't it? The church is cleaned. You have to find it clean. It's lighting up. It must have power. Your cameras must light up because you've come with a photographer. So we do not want to get into an entanglement of interfering with the customs of the church. Depending on your ability, we have so many churches in Kampala. If you cannot afford a particular church that's asking for the $3 million because they have that ambience for you to be comfortable, they will give you a mineral water bottle when you walk in. As a bride, if you're tensed up, they will calm you down. Actually, that's a miracle. To get a mineral water bottle in a church? I'm telling you, it happens. Oh, Agnes, come on, where did you come from? I do not want to mention names, and I don't want to mention names of churches, but I'm trying to explain where sometimes the figures come from. Okay. It's a freestyle. If you think the particular church is asking for $2 million, for me, what I'm comfortable with is the church that is marrying you, having the authority to marry you. Because most of the times, you even go to churches that have the ambience, but are doing an illegal marriage. But you cared about the decor, your gown, the photography, you've pimped up all this ceremony. But actually, you in an illegality. So for me, before we look at the $2 million, they're asking you, have you gone the extra mile to ask for accountability? Do you have a license? And if you have a license and you're asking for $3 million, then what are the other churches having? Because at the end of the day, what matters? You're going to be comfortable marrying in a church that has your faith and denomination. And the churches are there. Yes, they're there. So to me, we should not tag this and fail the churches from giving us a comfortable environment just because Leah cannot afford it. So that everyone cannot afford the ambience. You suit yourself. Though I would say that we are not trying to fail people that can't afford $2 million. Not every church is asking for $2 million. But depending on what the church has invested in their place of worship is what hypes the prices. The prices. You go to a church and there is not even a flower on your wedding day. So you pay your 35 and they'll wed you, but you know what the pictures will look like. No, I know. It would be the 35 goes to Agnes, and then maybe, imagine if I'm doing 30 weddings a day. 30 weddings a day, and I'm doing my $3 million per wedding. Now that's about $90 million. I would say it's too much, but the justification would be probably they should not really ask for a lot. Now that's what I desired to hear from you. I think we try to balance. You cannot say someone should not decorate the church, someone should not give you a warm welcome. That this money should be balanced. So if the registration is 35. Yes, because you know when you look at the 35 and $3 million, my goodness. But do you know most of us that go there to these churches actually go there knowing this? Because I think I have a right to ask you, give me a breakdown of the $3 million. Now, Agnes,
That's the toughest thing you're going to ask. Because you're going to come to a bishop and say, can you give me the breakdown of the 3 million?
The bishop is not there.
Who are you asking?
When you're welcome to this church, the people who welcome you.
They'll tell you, you know what? That's our fee. They don't explain it. That's our fee. And but there are churches you can go to. And Agnes, let's leave it there. Let's leave it at that. Now, we're closing in. Our time is running out.
Yeah, you had another marriage called the Muslim marriage.
Muslim marriage?
Yeah, we have the Muslim and the Hindu. You know the Hindu were taken on by the constitution then, so the president allowed the Hindu. You see the temples, the Indian temples?
Yes.
Most of those people are not of the African community, so they cannot do your kwanjula.
Okay.
They may not know your church or Jesus.
Yes, so they'll do their thing.
They'll do their thing and the temple, and they'll also bring their return.
Oh, okay. And the Muslim?
We have the Chivuli, Supreme Council, Ahmadiyya, Aga Khan.
Oh, wow.
The beauty about
all those bring their returns.
Exactly. The difference within the Aga Khan is a Muslim but believes in a monogamous arrangement. Whereas the rest, you can have as many as marriages registered with us, Muslim marriages, and the certificate will be entered. What I would want to warn that if you're in a Muslim arrangement, don't run to us to do a civil marriage.
Why?
When in a Muslim arrangement, you're under the Mohammedans Act that allows 4 wives, so it's polygamous in nature. So stick there. Do your nikahs there. Stick there. When you want to cross over and do the civil or a church, it means you've decided to say you never do a nikah. You've crossed over to the monogamous arrangement. You'll come as a Muslim and I'm a Catholic, and you decide to do your civil marriage or church marriage, because when you go to church as a Muslim, of course, they'll baptize you, take you in through the norms
of the church.
They'll even give you a name. Just like if I decided to go to the mosque, I'll become a Farida. Yes. Besides having my other names. So I've switched. So I cannot claim to be alone in this arrangement. Okay. So with Muslims, decide to stay in your lane.
Okay, so civil marriage promotes monogamy.
Yes, and church.
And church.
It's a monogamous arrangement.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think you've done everything so good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did a great job. And as we close out, are you married?
Yes.
I love that. How long have you been married?
12 years.
Oh, that's so pretty. You got some babies?
Yeah, I'm a mother of 4.
Mother of 4?
4 daughters.
Oh, daughters. That's amazing. They must be so pretty. And before we close, you probably want to say something to your husband. You look in that camera over there. Got you there.
You want me to blush?
Oh, yeah. You got to tell him, now I'm not part of the whole thing. Now it's just you and him.
I'd like to thank my husband for loving me.
Wow. Look in your camera.
To loving me, for loving my children, for being a good husband, and for keeping the fire burning. Because, you know, it's one thing to walk down the aisle, and it's another thing to keep this marriage for this period of time. Because we do not want to get excited about the one-day affair of the gown, of the makeup. So how do we keep this marriage solid?
Thank God you've done it.
So I want to thank my husband.
What's his name?
It's called Brian Ivan Ndiwalana.
Mr. Ndiwalana, you had your beautiful wife over here, and she's so excited about you. Thank you for standing in. Thank you for being a man. You know, when a woman really applauds you, you know you're doing good. So God bless you so much, Mr. Ndiwalana. And everybody out there, it's been great having Agnes here. And you've learned so much about your marriage and registering it and making it legal. As always, Cyrus Rod, I'm signing out. Remember, marriage is easy, ignorance is hard.
Unlocking marital bliss.